Okay, Chapter 8, Scenario 2. The researchers from the Valencia College interviewed 2 random samples asking, do you plan on attending UCF after Valencia College? The first sample was from Osceola campus and included 75 randomly selected students, and 50 said they're planning on attending UCF. The second sample was from Lake Nona campus and included 70 randomly selected students, and 40 students said they're planning on attending UCF. Is the proportion of students from Osceola campus planning on attending UCF not equal to the proportion of students from Lake Nona campus planning on attending UCF at the 10% level? So in this case, we have 2 separate groups. We have 2 proportions. So we're going to organize the data and say that proportion 1 is Osceola campus, and 50 out of 75.667 will be attending UCF. And population 2 is Lake Nona campus. That's 40 out of 70, where 0.571 will be attending UCF. So N1 is 75, N2 is 70, and the alpha is 0.10. So we're going to talk about our HO and HA. HO is always equal to, so since we have Osceola campus first, the proportion of students at Osceola campus who will be attending UCF is equal to the proportion of students at Lake Nona campus who will be attending UCF. In the problem, it's stated not equal to. So HA is going to be not equal to. The proportion of students at Osceola campus who will be attending UCF is not equal to the proportion of students at Lake Nona who will be attending UCF. Then we're going to check our conditions. So since we have 2 groups, we have N1 times P1, N1 times 1 minus P1, N2 times P2, and N2 times 1 minus P2 all have to be greater than or equal to 10. So the first one, N1 times P1, is 75 times 0.67, which is 50.25, which is greater than or equal to 10. N1 times 1 minus P1, 75 times 1 minus 0.67, is 24.75, which is greater than or equal to 10. N2 times P2, 70 times 0.57, is 39.9, greater than or equal to 10. Then N2 times 1 minus P2, 70 minus 0.57, is 30.1, which is greater than or equal to 10. The other condition needs to be random, independent, the groups separate from each other, independent within the samples, no one was repeated, and the null hypothesis is assumed to be true. Now, to do the work by hand, notice that the SC formula is longer. It's the square root of p times square root of p hat times 1 minus p hat times n 1 over n1 plus 1 over n2. But in this case, we have 2 p hats, so we're going to use a combined p hat. So to find the combined p hat, you take the numerators, 50 plus 40, add them up. Take the denominators, 75 plus 70, add those up, and we have a combined p hat of 90 over 145, which is 0.62. So again, it's going to be the square root of 0.62 times 1 minus 0.62 times 1 over 75 plus 1 over 70. So we're going to type that in the calculator. Be very careful typing that in. So we're going to do the square root, second x squared. We're going to do 0.62 parenthesis 1 minus 0.62 close parenthesis, open parenthesis, 1 divided by 75 plus 1 divided by 70. We're going to close the parenthesis, hit enter, and make sure you get 0.80, 0.08, let's say 1, depending on how much you round it off. So 0.081. Then, to find our z, is p hat 1 minus p hat 2 minus 0. The reason why it's minus 0 is that the difference between the 2 groups compared to no difference. But basically, we just have to take p hat 1 minus p hat 2 divided by our SE, and we get a z of 1.18. So on the calculator, it would be parenthesis 0.667 minus 0.571. Now remember, you could round 4 decimal places or longer, be more exact, but I just did 3. And then divided by 0.081. And then press enter, and that's where we got our 1.18 or 1.19. Again, rounding depending on which numbers and how much you round. So we have 1.18 as our z. We can go to the z table, find less than, subtract from 1 to find the area here, then double it since we're doing not equal to. So we could do it by hand, so you can see on the graphs, or we can do this in the calculator. So to do in the calculator, we're going to do a 2 proportion z. So we're going to hit stat, over to tests. We're going to do number 6, 2 proportion z test. And notice that the calculator wants the 2 fractions. So the first fraction was 50, so x1 is 50. Enter. N1 is 75. Enter. And then the second fraction is 40, so x2 is 40. N2 is 75. Oh, sorry, 70. And then we're going to choose not equal to. And then you can go to calculator draw. I'm going to go to draw. And notice for not equal to, it shades both sides. So we got the same z of 1.18. And our p-value takes both into account. So it's 0.2376. Again, we could have found one side in that table and then doubled it to get a similar number. But we're going to go with 0.2376 as our p-value. So now with our p-value, we compare our p-value to alpha. Alpha is 0.10, so our p-value, 0.2376, is not smaller than alpha of 0.10, so we do not reject HO. There is not statistically significant evidence to reject HO. We conclude that the proportion of students at Osceola campus who will be attending UCF is not different than the proportion of students at Lake Nona who will be attending UCF. So basically, the claim was they're equal, and we do not reject that claim. We do not reject the claim that they're equal. So they're not different than each other. So we can do a 90% confidence interval. Alpha is 10, so we're doing 90% confidence interval. So the work is p hat 1 minus p hat 2 plus or minus the SE times z star. So p hat 1 minus p hat 2 is 0.667 minus 0.571 plus or minus the SC we worked out earlier is 0.081. And then the z star comes from 90%, which is 1.645. So we can type that in the calculator, 1 minus 1 plus. So we can hit second mode, parenthesis. So we do 0.667 minus 0.571, close parenthesis, minus, we did 0.081 times 1.645, enter, and then we can hit second enter, and then get the equation back, but change the minus to a plus, enter, and we get to negative 0.0372 and 0.2292, which is what we got by hand. We can also check in the calculator. Remember, checking the calculator, the answer will be slightly different because of rounding. It's actually a little bit more exact. So we go to stat, to the right for tests. We go to 2 proportion z interval, which is letter B. And notice that the calculator puts everything in there for us because we did the 2 proportion z test. So x1 is 50, N1 is 75, x2 is 50, N2 is 75, but our C level is 0.90 now. And then we go to calculate. Notice the answers will be close to each other, close to what we got by hand, but a little different, but either one's fine. And then notice we got a negative and a positive. That means something because we're comparing Osceola campus compared to Lake Nona. So the negative and the positive, since we're comparing, means lower or higher. So when we interpret this, we are going to say we are 90% confident the proportion of students at the Osceola campus who will be attending UCF is lower by 3.7% to higher by 22.75% compared to the proportion of students at Lake Nona campus who will be attending UCF. And then you have all the calculator steps here of what I did, step by step in the review for the test and for the confidence interval. Thank you.